She stood at my door pounding like she owned the place. "Open up, HO inspection," she barked, waving a clipboard like it was a police badge. I had seen her before. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood. But this time something felt off. Her eyes were sharp, almost desperate. I barely got a word out before she yelled, "You're hiding violations." "I'm calling 911 right now." I laughed under my breath. "Karen, this isn't your property," I said calmly, stepping out onto the porch. But she already had her phone to her ear, fake crying like she was being attacked. "Yes, officer." "He's threatening me. He's got illegal stuff in his garage," she wailed, loud enough for the neighbors to peek through their windows. Within minutes, flashing lights filled the street. I could see her smirking, fixing her hair as if she'd already won. What she didn't know was that my wife Jenna worked as a dispatcher for the same county she just called, and at that exact moment Jenna was the one answering Karen's 911 call. From inside the house, I heard Jenna's calm professional tone over the speakerphone. "Ma'am, can you confirm the address?" she asked, already recognizing the number. Karen proudly gave it, thinking she had the upper hand. "Oh, I know that address," Jenna muttered softly, her voice cold and steady now. I saw the corner of her lip lift in a half smile. Karen continued, "He's refusing to comply. He's dangerous." But her little performance started to fall apart when two real officers stepped out of their cruiser, and one of them looked straight at me. "Mr. Carson?" the taller one asked. "We just got a very odd call from this lady." Karen turned, pretending to look frightened. He's the one."
He threatened me.
Jenna came outside, phone still in her hand. "Actually," she said, walking down the steps, "I just spoke to dispatch." "That's me. You called my line, Karen." Karen froze. Her fake tears stopped instantly. The officers exchanged looks. You're the dispatcher?" she stammered. Jenna nodded, her tone flat but firm. "And I recorded every word you said." The silence that followed could have cracked glass. Karen's voice shook. "Wait, that's not fair. I didn't mean..." But before she could finish, one of the officers turned toward her. "Ma'am, we need to talk about filing a false report." And that's when the real panic hit her face. Karen's face went pale as the officer stepped closer. "False report? Are you kidding me?" she yelled, her voice cracking as she backed away. "I was just trying to do my job as the HOA president." "You're not even on the HOA board anymore," I said quietly, crossing my arms. "You were removed last month after threatening the landscaper, remember?" Her mouth fell open, but she quickly recovered with another lie. "That's not true. They didn't file it properly. I still have authority here." Jenna stayed calm, her tone like ice. "Karen, we all got the email. You were removed permanently. You don't have any authority to be on our property." Karen's eyes darted between me and the officers, searching for control she no longer had. Then, in a last desperate attempt, she raised her voice and said, "You people think you can push me out of my neighborhood? I've lived here for 20 years. One officer sighed. "Ma'am, you need to calm down." "Calm down?" she screamed. "He's hiding illegal work in that garage. I've seen the trucks. He's running a business out of his home." I almost laughed. "Karen, that's my brother's restoration company. And for the record, the trucks are registered under my name." But Karen wasn't listening. She darted toward the garage, trying to yank it open, shouting, "You can't hide from the HOA." That's when the sound of my security alarm filled the air, loud, shrill, and undeniable. The officers rushed forward, stopping her at the door. "Ma'am, step back," one shouted, grabbing her arm. Karen twisted, shouting, "This is my right. I'm keeping this neighborhood clean." Jenna stepped closer, holding up her phone. "Clean? You just trespassed, damaged property, and filed a fake 911 report. How clean is that?" Karen froze again, her breathing shallow. Her hand shook as she pointed at Jenna. "You think you're so smart because you work with the police." Jenna looked her straight in the eyes. "No, Karen, I just know the law." That line hit like a hammer. For a second, everything went quiet except for the soft crackle of the police radio. Then one officer turned to me and asked, "Sir, do you want to press charges for trespassing?" I looked at Karen, her face red, her confidence shattered. She still tried to stand tall, but her voice came out small. "You'll regret this." I didn't even blink. "I already did," I said. "When I let you move in next door?" The officers exchanged a glance, and that's when one of them walked back to the patrol car and started making a call. Karen didn't realize yet. The call wasn't about me. It was about her. Karen's fake smile returned as she tried to steady her voice. "You officers are making a huge mistake," she said, brushing dust from her sleeve like she still ran the block. "You don't know who you're dealing with. I have connections at City Hall." The shorter officer raised an eyebrow. "City Hall, huh? That's interesting. Because I just called in your name for verification." Karen blinked fast. "You what?" The taller officer leaned against the patrol car, his voice calm but firm. "Turns out, someone filed multiple complaints under your name last month, all proven false. Noise violations, property complaints, even one against a disabled veteran for having a wheelchair ramp." Karen's mouth dropped open. "That wasn't me. Someone's using my name." Jenna folded her arms. "Funny, because those were all handwritten letters. Same handwriting as the official HOA warnings. You've been taping to people's doors." Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected anyone to notice the fake notices. "That's not proof," she shouted, stepping back. "You're all ganging up on me because I care about this neighborhood." I looked at her quietly. "No, Karen, you care about control." She froze at that. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. The silence felt heavier now, like the air itself was waiting to see what she'd do next. Then suddenly she smirked again. "Fine. If that's how it is, I'll sue every one of you for harassment." Jenna took a step closer, lowering her voice. "Before you do that, maybe check your mail. You might have missed the restraining order notice from the HOA board." Karen blinked. "What? Restraining order?" I couldn't help but sigh. "The one they filed after you followed the treasurer's wife to her kid's school." Her lips parted, speechless now. Even the officers looked stunned. Then, from the patrol car radio, a voice came through clearly. "Copy that. Confirmed on subject has 2 active misdemeanor charges pending for harassment and impersonating an HOA officer." Karen's hand started to shake. That's not possible." "I didn't—" But before she could finish, the taller officer moved forward. "Ma'am, turn around. You're under arrest." Karen gasped, her voice breaking. "No, this is wrong. I was trying to protect my community." The officer read her rights as the handcuffs clicked. She turned toward me, tears mixing with anger. "You'll pay for this. You'll regret making me look like the villain." I took a slow breath. "Karen," I said quietly, "you didn't need any help looking like that." As they led her to the squad car, the whole neighborhood started peeking through their windows. Curtains shifted. "Phones recorded?" Karen's reign was over. But I had no idea. Something much bigger was about to unfold the next morning. The next morning started too quiet. No barking dogs, no leaf blowers. No Karen shouting from her porch about someone's grass being too long. For the first time in months, peace actually felt possible. Jenna was sipping coffee at the kitchen counter when she said, "Feels weird, doesn't it? Like the calm after a storm." I nodded, still half asleep. "Yeah. Except storms usually don't leave you wondering what they'll destroy next." She looked at me curiously. "What do you mean?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me swipe to answer. "Hello?" A male voice spoke flatly. "Mr. Carson, this is Officer Graham. We processed Ms. Karen Miller last night, but there's something you should know." I straightened. "What now?" She made a statement. Claimed the HOA approved her actions, said she had written permission from the former HOA chair, and she handed us a document. Jenna frowned. "What kind of document?" The officer hesitated. "That's the thing. It's an HOA violation order, signed by you." My heart dropped. "What?" She said you authorized her to enforce property checks and remove illegal constructions. "That's ridiculous," I said quickly. "I've never signed anything like that." Jenna leaned in. "Ask him to send a picture." Within seconds, my phone buzzed again with a photo attachment. The paper looked official, HOA letterhead, legal tone, even my signature. But it wasn't mine. The curves were too perfect, the pen pressure wrong. A forgery. Jenna's jaw tightened. "She forged your signature?" "Yeah," I muttered, anger building. "And if she forged mine, she might have forged others too." We both looked at each other, the same thought hitting us at once. "She wasn't acting alone," Jenna said quietly. Just then another car pulled up outside. Not a police cruiser this time. Black SUV, tinted windows. A man in a suit stepped out holding a folder. He knocked once, sharp and deliberate. I opened the door and he flashed a badge. Mr. Carson? I'm Agent Dalton, County Fraud Investigations. We need to talk about your HOA president. Jenna's eyes narrowed. She's not the president anymore. Dalton nodded. Not legally. But she's been using HOA funds to run private code enforcement scams. Fake fines, fake reports, fake signatures, including yours. My stomach twisted. You're saying this was bigger than her little neighborhood tantrums? He sighed. Much bigger. We think she's part of a small ring operating across 3 counties. Jenna blinked. Wait, are you saying Karen's part of a scam network? Dalton nodded again. Yes, ma'am. And unfortunately, he opened the folder and slid out a photo. You two are listed as her next targets. Jenna froze. I felt the chill crawl up my spine. Karen might have been in handcuffs, but her plan clearly wasn't over. My pulse started to race as Agent Dalton laid the folder open across the table. Inside were printed screenshots, emails, and scanned HOA letters, all forged under my name. Some even had Jenna's name signed at the bottom as a witness, like my hands clenched just looking at them. Jenna leaned closer, scanning fast. These are all fake, she said. She never even had access to our signatures. Dalton nodded slowly. We believe she did. She was working with a man named Rick Sanders, former HOA treasurer. He's been missing for 2 months. He handled digital records, including archived member forms. That's how she got your information. I felt my stomach twist. So this wasn't just about harassment or control. She was stealing identities. Dalton looked grim. Exactly. Using fake notices and HOA fines to pressure homeowners into settlements. Thousands of dollars went straight to her private account. Jenna shook her head in disbelief. And she still had the nerve to call 911 like she was the victim. Dalton's tone dropped lower. She wasn't just trying to intimidate you. Mr. Carson, she was trying to shut you up. You filed that complaint about the HOA audit last month, right? I froze. Yeah. I found inconsistencies in their expense reports and missing funds. Well, Dalton said, sliding another photo forward. She knew about it. And this, he pointed to the corner of the picture, is your garage camera. We found screenshots on her laptop. Jenna gasped. She was spying on us? Probably for weeks, he said. We traced the footage back to a hidden camera placed near your driveway floodlight. That explained everything. The strange clicks on my Wi-Fi. The flicker in the light. The sense that someone was always watching. Jenna took a shaky breath. So, what happens now? Dalton closed the folder. We've already started a full investigation. She'll be charged with identity fraud, falsifying government records, and stalking. But we need your cooperation. We'll need access to your cameras and any communication you've had with the HOA. Of course, I said quickly. Take whatever you need. Dalton stood. Good, and one more thing. He paused at the door. Karen's arraignment is tomorrow morning. If you want to see real justice, I'd suggest showing up. As the SUV pulled away, Jenna looked out the window, silent for a moment. You think it's really over? I shook my head slowly. Not until she faces everyone she tried to destroy. That night I barely slept. The footage, the lies, her screaming on my porch, it all played on a loop in my mind. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Tomorrow wasn't just her reckoning. It was going to expose everything. And deep down I knew Karen wouldn't go down quietly. The courthouse was packed the next morning. Neighbors, HOA board members, even a few local reporters filled the benches. The same people Karen had once bullied into silence were now here to watch her answer for everything. Jenna sat beside me, calm but tense, her fingers laced with mine. The air felt thick with quiet satisfaction, like justice was finally close enough to touch. Then the door opened and Karen walked in, shackled, dressed in orange. Her confident smirk was gone, replaced with something hollow, anger mixed with disbelief. She scanned the courtroom, her eyes finding me instantly. I didn't look away. The prosecutor began laying out the evidence, the forged documents, the fake HOA fines, the fraudulent 911 call, and finally the hidden cameras. Each piece hit like a hammer, and every time, Karen's lawyer tried to interrupt, but it was useless. The truth was too loud now. When they played the audio from her fake 911 call, the one Jenna answered, the courtroom went completely still. You could hear the panic in Karen's voice, the lies stacking one over another. Then Jenna's calm response came through the speakers. You called my line. Karen? It was like the whole room collectively exhaled. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Miller, do you have anything to say before sentencing? Karen hesitated, her lips trembling. I was just trying to protect the community, she said weakly. They made me the villain. The judge's tone was cold. You made yourself the villain, and now you'll face the consequences. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. 18 months county jail. 3 years probation. Restitution to all affected homeowners. Karen gasped, tears spilling now, but no one looked away. No one comforted her. The neighbors just watched silently as the deputies let her out. Outside the courthouse, people began clapping, quiet at first, then louder. One of the older residents shook my hand and said, "About time someone stood up to her." Jenna smiled softly, her voice low enough for only me to hear. "It's over." I looked back at the courthouse doors where Karen had just disappeared. "Yeah," I said, exhaling, "but the damage she did, that'll take time to fix." She squeezed my hand. "Then we'll fix it together." I smiled faintly. "You know what's crazy?" I said, watching the morning sunlight hit the courthouse steps. She called 911 to force her way in, but that one call became the reason she lost everything. Jenna nodded. Poetic justice. And for the first time in a long time, the street back home felt like ours again. Quiet, safe, and finally free of the woman who thought she owned it. Viral line. She called the cops to control us, but in the end, it was her own call that put her behind bars. Subscribe my YouTube channel for more stories.